So what's up, HVAC crew? Welcome back to another episode of HVAC R&D with Ryan and Dennis. Got another guest on this week. Someone that we've enjoyed a couple of different conversations back and forth, but haven't had a chance to have him, won't say in the flesh. I guess this would be in the voice. How do you say that? He's audibly present. Is that the right way to say that?
There you go. That'll work.
There we go. That sounds highfalutin enough for a podcast at 9:45 at night. So anyway, sit back, relax, pop a top, or pour a few fingers in a glass and sit back and enjoy a little bit of time with your boys. So let's get it going.
Yeah, come on.
Are you doing the promo, or do you want me to do the promo and then you bring him in?
You're the promo guy.
All right, shameless self-plug. So welcome back again, everybody. Don't you just love that intro music? Gets me every time.
Yep.
Especially that good old unit shut off. I did see a guy, Dennis, that commented that he was coming over to one of your reels the other day, so you better watch out. Be careful posting anything live if you're cooking on the old pellet grill. You might get company.
Oh, maybe you can come over here and fix this Goodman I got out back.
There it is. The old rattle box.
I'll put something in there to quieten that thing down, but then we wouldn't have as good of intro music.
Are you gargling rocks back there? Oh no, that's just the unit. Jeez. So, if you notice, the old Hattie, the HVAC R&D hat, has been traveling around the last few weeks. We're starting to run out. We're getting closer and closer to a reorder, or we might just have to do another big giveaway. I don't know. Our guest on the show this week is doing a giveaway. We were talking about that for a few minutes in the old pretend online green room before the show started. Giveaways are a bit more of a bear than you would think, but it's also really fun to watch all the interaction and all the crazy interaction that makes no sense. Right. But hey, that's how it works. Tag everybody. Go. Anyway, also make sure take advantage of the Riding36 discount code this week. Happy 36th birthday to me this past week. 9% off, free shipping. Get it while you can. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn as I continue to spam all of your pages as I catch up with old episode graphics. Also, follow us on Facebook at HVACR and ANDD. That was really weird to say, but that's how it works. And also, you can always find our link tree in the bio of our Instagram if you need any other information. Also, if we're ever doing any other partnerships, if I forget to say something in the show, which happens all the time, make sure to check our link tree because you can get all the different information in the bio, whether it be for EGIA, guys at Solder Weld, or HVAC Tactical. Make sure to go register for the Tactical Awards. I hear the show's starting to get full. Maybe it's going to get even bigger. So go check that out. And, all right, I think that concludes it for the shameless self-promo portion of the show. D, you're up.
Jeez, you crushed it, buddy. Good job. All right, so like Ryan said, we got a guest on tonight. A little bit different for us. This guy here, he's in another side of the trade that I got no clue about, which is awesome for me. I'm going to pick his brain a little bit. I love having guys, from the trades on here that, especially this guy that's kind of dabbling in a little part of the industry that's nobody really wants to think about, talk about, but you got to have it. So without further ado, let's bring on Pat with Commercial Kitchen Chronicles.
I know you know I see you smiling at me. It's alright. Here comes the ready or not. Here comes the boys for the sound. Here comes the ready or not. How you like me now? I say we rep the sound.
What's going on, man? How are you?
What's up?
Just sitting here hanging out, trying to recover from a long weekend.
It was a long weekend.
You know what they say, the best way to fix that? You got to start drinking again.
I've been trying to. It was a long day yesterday. I made poor decisions and paid for it all day today. So.
Poor decision. Yep.
It happens. Happens to the best of us.
I got on a sweet tea and Tito's Kick, and then I think I even had some peach crown mixed in the bunch there. So,
All right, hang on. Back up a minute there. Sweet tea and Tito's.
yeah,
All right, explain that one. That's a new one for me. It's going to be a bunch of new stuff tonight.
I just mixed some sweet tea up and just put a couple shots of Tito's in each one and have at it.
Okay. I can do that.
I mean,
Now,
sure.
wasn't there? There was wasn't it Firefly sweet tea vodka?
Might have been.
Pretty sure there was like a sweet tea flavored vodka at some point.
Oh, yeah, they've all put out something like that. But
I grew up dirt poor, so I used to always, when I was younger, I just always cheap vodka and sweet tea because the tea was cheap and the vodka was cheaper, I think.
oh, yeah, I grew up, man, you could make a ton of sweet tea for nothing.
Yeah,
It was always sweet tea and some kind of, was it Tang or whatever other powder drinks you
Tang.
could make?
It was Tang.
yeah.
Surprised you're in Atlanta, Dennis. Didn't you have purple drink?
Purple drink. Oh, yeah, grape drink. Cherry drink.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't say Kool-Aid. It was,
That's true.
the high end was like, what's the lemonade company?
Country Time.
Country
yeah.
Time. We got some of that in the pantry now. My kids crush that. Yeah, you can't beat that. Pour it in there, stir it up, stick it in the fridge, man.
I always thought about Country Time for lemonade and Maxwell House for coffee. Thanks, NASCAR.
You're in NASCAR country, that's right.
Phew.
Yep. So where are
Part
you
of
at?
it.
I don't even know where you're at.
I live in a little town called Frankton, Indiana. I'm about 40 miles northeast of Indianapolis.
Okay.
It's just a little bitty small farm town. I used to live in Anderson, which is a little bigger town, but nope, just a little bitty farm town. It's like 1,500 people. I moved out here so my kids could go to a small school, and they opened it up to public, and it became overran. So it really wasn't a small school anymore. But they had fun. It's cool living in a little town. I mean, you got to drive 30 minutes to the grocery store, but I don't have to worry about a whole lot of stuff.
I know all about that, brother.
So, well, we'll get into this later as far as you driving, how far you got to go for work. But before we can get going any further, we got to get into what we're drinking. I know we're all getting over a long weekend, but Pat, you're first. You're up.
All right, let's see.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Cayman Jack tonight. So I'm a huge margarita fan, and these work out pretty well for me.
are they margaritas in a can?
Yep, the Cayman Jack. They make them in bottles, but I always buy like the 12-pack of cans. And they're just small cans, but they work out pretty well. They're pretty good. If you can't tell, I got a theme of a lot of sugar in my life.
I was gonna say, we had Rachel was doing she was doing vodka soda in a can.
The Nantucket. Nantucket.
something. Yeah, it was. Those
It
are
was something with, it was a vodka cranberry.
vodka cranberry.
Nice, nice.
She was a hoot though. I could listen to her accent and see how mine sounds kind of like that all day.
I stumbled onto you guys kind of late. I mean, within the last 3 or 4 months, and I try to catch up on all your stuff, man. And I enjoy you guys' stuff, man. It's pretty good.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean,
Appreciate it.
it's weird when you find I'm a big golf guy, so I found Foreplay, and I have not went. I mean, they've been out for 5 years. It's weird how everybody's little world. You're huge in your own little world, right? So, I stumbled across them, and I was like, God, this is the best golf podcast ever. And it's like, damn, episode 500. Like, how the hell am I supposed to catch up to this? Like,
Yeah.
and you just can't, right? You go back a few and kind of pick up where,
Yeah, you
as
go
long as
back.
you don't miss any of the inside stuff, I guess, jokes and crap.
You look for the episodes of people that you know or you want to hear about, so you go back to those, and then
Yeah,
Right.
that's what happens.
So I am, I scrolled back through some Instagram where you and Ryden were chatting on there, and I'd seen some bourbon come up on there. So I went ahead and opened up the bottle that Ryden gave me for my birthday. Was it my birthday?
Yes.
No.
No, just
No, for my new job.
congratulations on your new job, sir.
I'm already trying to get older. Yeah, the Calumet Farms Kentucky bourbon. So
Nice.
2 bourbons in a row on the shows here. I had to do bourbon with Ryden's dad.
uh-oh.
So
I enjoy the bourbon as well. Generally, weekends, if I'm doing dumb stuff, I drink more. But if I'm just coming home from work and I want to smoke a cigar out in the barn and I'll smoke a nice cigar, and I'll have a couple fingers of bourbon and ice, and just more habits I picked up that I probably shouldn't. But hey, gotta have fun.
yeah, like holiday weekend, I don't know, I don't get a taste for bourbon, right? But I'm drinking Mick Ultra, or I'm at the pool drinking Trulies or whatever. But yeah, it's starting to become a little bit cooler, and I start craving some bourbon. Just the light beers have to take a back seat in the wintertime for whatever reason.
That bourbon just warms you up from the inside, man.
Right?
That
Yeah,
it
beer
does.
can't do that.
No,
Not even hitchhikers.
although they are delightful.
All right, what you got, Ryan? You hadn't brought
Well-
anything weird to the show lately.
So, back to our bourbon conversation. I threw it up on the old Instagram a little bit before we started, but I brought my Roadstock Rye Whistle Pig onto the show after Pat and I were talking about Whistle Pig the other day.
Nice.
And when that runs out, I've got a couple hitchhikers in the cooler to finish it out.
Riding tailgates when we do these.
Hey,
This is
He's
like-
tailgating.
Hey, man, it's like a highlight of my week.
Okay, so we got a lot to get into with Pat here, but give us a breakdown of what you do, what you've been working on, how'd you get into this, however you want to start.
And it is also interesting as I jump into that question to see just kind of your breadth of what all you work on.
that'll be a long subject.
That's a,
Right? I mean,
I started.
what'd you get into first? Yeah, let's.
Well, I started off in high school. I took vocational school for electrical. So we wired a house each year. The vocational school built a house, and then they gave it. I don't know if they gave it away or sold it for a low price, but so I did that for 2 years. So we did the houses, but we also did like electrical maintenance on the school. So I'd be in a classroom that have kids in there, and I'm changing a 277 volt ballast while it's live, and they're trying to teach class, and I'm in there blowing up strippers and shocking myself and everything else. And I did that for 2 years, and I came out and I went went to a union shop for a while, and I joined at the wrong time, so I hadn't started class yet. And then 9/11 happened, and the market kind of tanked, and so the construction industry kind of fell off there pretty hard. And I hadn't started class, so I kind of got let go because they didn't have any money in me, so they didn't need me around. I mean, no hard feelings against the union or anything, but it's how it works. And I understood that, so I went non-union for 6 years. I wired anything from CVS's to apartments to houses. I mean, it just bounced around. But I got stuck on apartments for like 3 years, and it was the same thing over and over and over. And it just kind of burned me out. So my dad, he had done HVAC, done refrigeration, and he worked for a company that did what I do now. And they got bought out by a huge conglomerate, and he was working for a family shop. You know, they treated their employees great. You know, and he wasn't a part of, you know, being bought out. He was older, so he told me he was going to retire, and he got me on. So when he retired, I took his spot in his territory. So I worked for that company for about 3 years, and I was just doing hot side. So I was doing a lot of McDonald's, schools, hospitals, nursing homes. I just did hot side. So I was just doing fryers, ovens, grills, microwaves, all that kind of stuff. And it was fun. It was cool. But I got to the point where I was wanting to do more because I was getting bored. My ADHD kicks in and I get bored. And it's never good. So I was like, hey, I want to do refrigeration. And they didn't want to train me for refrigeration. So I talked to a buddy of mine that worked for an HVACR company, and they were getting in some restaurant stuff. They needed a guy, and they're like, hey, we'll train you refrigeration. I was like, okay, how much you gonna pay me? And it was like significantly more than I was making where I was at. And I was like, shoot, okay. So I jumped ship and I went there, and their idea of training me for refrigeration was the stuff's on your van, figure it out.
Here's your van. Yeah, I was going to say it.
Yeah. So luckily I had a good support staff between my dad and some of his friends, and some of my friends that helped me out. And that's when the internet really started getting big. So I'd read everything I can. I'd Google anything I can. And I just kind of self-taught myself refrigeration. So I bounced around for a couple of years to a couple of smaller shops. I had some issues with sleep apnea. So I like to fall asleep when I was driving and hit things.
Jeez.
So yeah, I worked for two places.
Good.
Yeah, I'm surprised I never died, dude. It was bad. Like, I'd fall asleep sitting at a stoplight, or I'd just rear end somebody, or I'd be asleep and I'd try turning, and I'd turn into a pole. So I lost a couple jobs from that. They're like, oh, you can fix anything, but we just can't insure you anymore. So luckily, I got that issue taken care of, and ended up where I'm at now, and I've been here for 11 and a half years, and it's been a really good fit for me. Like I said, I do refrigeration, I do cooking, I train on several product lines. I train for Frymaster Fryers, which is a big, like one of the top fryer companies in the world. Garland Clam Grills, which is like your McDonald's grills. They're also in Wendy's, and there's some other places too. And then I also train for an organization called Cefesa, which is in your guys' neck of the woods. Actually, it's in Fort Mill.
So that's where I'm at.
Talking about that the other day.
Yep, I'll be out there in November, and I expect to meet you guys. So,
oh, dude, we got to hook up. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'll give you the dates when I come in. I'll be in from like a Friday through the whole following week, and probably leave Saturday, the next Saturday. So we can set something up when I'm out there. But no, my days consist of, like today, I started off.
I mean, do you know your calls for the day?
I know
somewhat?
my calls for the day generally. I mean, sometimes it changes, but like my schedule, I can look at my schedule for 3 weeks and I'm booked solid, just because we're so far behind, we're so understaffed.
Oh, wow.
But it changes, but for the most part, like your first aims are set, just because we could actually charge a premium for a first AM call because there's less employees, they're not open in a lot of places. So it's kind of crazy, but we could actually charge that premium, but I'm surprised I haven't done it yet. But today we started off on I've got a trainee with me. We started off on a fryer at a Burger King, had to change temperature probe. And then we had a rotisserie oven at a Target that had it was giving a door switch error, and the wire for the door switch has actually got to a cooling fan and just cut it. So put it back together. And then we drove down to Indy. We worked on a chippery, which is kind of a one-off thing. I posted a video of it on all my social media today. It's pretty cool, but
I watched it. I was going to say I watched it like 12 times, by the way.
It's amazing. That's the best. Dude.
Dang it, I haven't seen
It's kind of a letdown because I was like, man, is that how all my like house-made chips are made? Because I thought it was more human involvement.
Well, that really is, because the guy that designed that actually worked for Frito-Lay in Canada and like took the idea, downsized it to this, and then he sells them. It's like a craft thing. But But yeah, we had to work on that. So I had to order quite a few parts for it. It generally runs a lot faster than it was in that video, but the temperatures, it slows itself down. So the temperature gets so slow, it slows itself down. Normally it's pumping them out a lot faster than that, but it was about 20 degrees too cool. So it was slowed down by like 75%.
Oh, so you talking about the grease?
Yep, the temperature of the grease. It's got a
ramp it up. You can spit more chips out, I guess.
Yep, it's supposed to be running at like 345, and it was only running at 330, so it slows itself down. So the product does come out. So it adjusts. So if it overheats, it actually goes faster than it's supposed to, and if it underheats, it actually slows down. That thing has the biggest PLC I've ever seen in it. It's got like 4-speed control boards.
It looked like something I really wanted to work on bad.
When I go back and work on it, I'll take pictures of the control box, because the control box is insane. Like I worked on it a couple months ago, and I posted a video, and everyone was mad. Like, oh, no chips. You didn't put any potatoes in there, and they didn't have no potatoes. And I've been waiting for it because the call to come back up. And I told my dispatcher, I was like, hey, if they call that back in, you are to send me and only me.
Yeah. It's for the gram. Send me back over there. It's right. For the gram.
Yeah. Well, my trainee was with me. I keep calling him my trainee because he gets mad, but he's really my son. He started with me like 4 weeks ago.
Oh,
but he gets mad if I refer to him as my son. So like if I post anything that says Corbin, it's my trainee / my son. But he gets mad if I tell anybody he's my son. So
that's cool. He's coming in at a good time. He's skipping all the crap you talked about right when you started the show. He's skipping right to the good stuff.
Yeah, so we worked on that chippery, and what else? We had to came to shop and picked up parts, and we headed over to a major grocery store chain in the United States. They have a combi oven they use. So a combi oven, it's a convection oven, and it's a steamer, or it'll do both. Is how it gets the combi name. So it'll actually heat and then inject steam into it when cooking. So this grocery store chain uses they use it to cook their chickens. So it had one randomly shutting off. It ended up being a software glitch, so I had to put a new SD card in there, and it was pretty simple. But that was my day today. I did those 4 calls, but I drove 200 some miles.
Well, that was my next thing. You were like, I'm kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So where do you? I guess there's more stuff like this than there is houses, right? I mean,
it's growing. That's the crazy thing. Everywhere you go, you see a new restaurant going up, but you don't see more people doing what I'm doing. So we're just in such high demand that I can work 7 days a week, 12, 16-hour days if they'd let me. I mean, I'd do it, but they won't let me do it. But the work's there. It's just, it's just like all the other trades. I mean, everyone's aging out. The younger guys are starting to catch on now, but they don't have the work 60+ hour mentality like the older guys have. So
you're not.
40.
No, they get out of school and then they're, riding with you, learning.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have like that huge background of, framing houses or hanging sheetrock or this or that. And they got into this trade because the other trade sucked. They just like come out of school and they're like, here I am,
Yeah, we had another guy. He went to like a Ivy Tech, the community college, where they have a HVAC program, and he worked at a hospital as general maintenance. And he went there and he worked with us he didn't have any experience, so we gave him like 6 months riding with guys, and trained him. And then right at a year, he finally did his first week on call, and he worked like 60 some hours. And then his second week on call, he worked like 60 some hours again. He came in that Monday, turned in his 2 weeks notice, said he's not going to work those hours. I was like, it's only when you're on call, dude. And our dispatcher, God love her, but she's
the dispatcher.
Yeah, well, she's got a job to do. She's trying to clear her section of the board, so she throws it on our section of the board. And some of these guys, they see me working. I'll come in early. I mean, I'll leave the house at 5 in the morning. If I can get in a job at 6, I'll be there at 6. And I'll work till 7, 8 at night just because I'm greedy. I love money. I love doing dumb stuff. I mean, I need the money to fund my dumb hobbies. But
right.
Don't we all?
And they think it's a mandatory thing. I'm like, it's not a mandatory thing. I'm like, he's like, well, it'll be 4 o'clock and I'll still have 2 calls on my board. I'm like, no one asked you to start a call after 4 o'clock, especially if you had to drive 30, 45 minutes to get there. I said, and you don't have to start a call after 5 o'clock if you're on call. He's like, well, no one told me that. I'm like, did you ask? well, no. I'm like, so you're quitting because you didn't ask a question? And then I'm the bad guy for saying that.
Well, I've noticed, and it may be, I don't know. I feel like it is this generation, but I noticed, but before I had kids, you know, it was wide open, man. I was just like wanting to get it. You know, and then you have one kid, and then you start to, okay, I don't want to work like around the clock. So you slow down just a little bit. Then you have 2 kids or whatever. But when you don't have any kids and you're just trying to get some experience, what else do you got to do?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like that's I don't get it. Like what else you got to do? You going to go home and do what?
Video games.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I mean, I can't really think,
Yeah. I get
go ahead and build that base, work double everybody else.
Yeah.
And you'll turn around, you'll be, 28, 30, and you'll be kind of Cadillacing.
That's what I told my son. I mean, I was like, you're coming in at a great time. I said, my son was a tremendous football player. He could end up playing somewhere, but COVID hit and he didn't get the in-person, visits, and it was all virtual stuff, and over Zoom meeting. He didn't want no part of that. He missed out on the experience of getting swooned by the colleges.
Right.
And I told him, I was like, you screwed around. You didn't take care of your grades because you're too busy being a party boy. I said, so you don't get to go to school on grades for free. I said, you're not going to get any grants because I make too much money. And
right.
You're going to take loans. And I said, I'm not backing those loans. I said, because you're a party boy. And I know it's going to happen in 2 months. You're not going to be enrolled in school anymore. And you're going to be on the hook for, a semester or a full year's worth of loans on, for student stuff. And you're going to be paying on forever. And I kind of feel bad because I think I scared him out of it. But I mean, I just want to be honest with him. I mean,
that's what you got to do, man. It's what it is.
He realizes now the money he's making now and the money he's going to be making by the time his friends graduate college, and they're not going to be making them nowhere near what he's going to be making. Like, he runs around farm boys, and these kids are all going to school for dumb stuff, I think. But I was like, you can go out and buy you a brand new F-250 Super Duty if you want, in 4 years. I said, and your friends are come out driving the same car they went to school with and not have any money. I said, so.
Yeah, and still trying to look for a job.
Yep. So, I mean, I always tell everybody I was born the wrong generation. I should have been born like 20 years earlier than I was just because of the way I work. But
that's me. Yep.
I've made mistakes.
Well, and I was born so late in my dad's life that he was raising me that way, whether I wanted it or not.
Well, that's the way it was with me. My real dad died when I was a year and a half, but the guy that raised me was 20 years older than my mom, so he was like 45 years old when I was born. So he was 45 years older than me, and it's just I didn't know anything different. It just get up on Saturday morning, drink your coffee, and go out, start baling hay, start chasing horses, start fixing the fence, start building the barn. I mean, it's just like it was nonstop, sun up, sundown. Didn't know any better. If I wasn't working, I was playing all day. So
does he like it? Has he got a little niche for it? Has he got a mechanical mind, or?
And he's never touched. He's touched tools one time in his entire life before he started here because he needed to do brakes on his truck, and so I took him out and we just started on the front. I did one side, I made him do the other side, and then we did the back. I did one side, made him do the other side, and that's the only time he ever touched tools before 4 weeks ago. So he's catching on pretty fast. The hardest thing I have with him if he's left-handed. So I couldn't even teach him to tie his shoes. It was like I was trying to teach him, and it was just backwards, and it just made my head hurt. So that's the hardest thing to do is try to teach him how to use the tools properly.
I bet it does look weird him using screwdrivers or twisting wire nuts or right. Does he do all that left-handed? I guess
he does everything with both hands, surprisingly. So I mean,
was that him tightening up that
gas hose? Yeah,
the hose on. Yeah, I was like, God, why is he using that hand?
Yep, he's left-handed. He's backwards.
It was driving me crazy watching that. I'm like, God, I just want to get in there and do it.
It's been that way his entire life, though. I mean, it's like every time he does something, I'm like, why? Oh, yeah, you're left-handed.
Yep. So one of the guys I work with, we grabbed lunch the other day. We took a contractor out, and then we grabbed lunch, and we sat down at the bar for lunch. Of course, we weren't drinking, but I sat down on his left side, and this dude eats left-handed. So that was the last time of that. Me and him are literally elbowing each other the whole time we're trying to eat. And I'm like, you seriously eating left-handed? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I got to get up and move. I can't sit over here. It's ridiculous.
I always try to sit next to him, put him on my left side so we don't have to worry about it. So we get this, we don't have to fight over. So,
yeah, I've never sat next to anybody that just ate left-handed like that. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's been fun. He was a quarterback and a running back, and he threw left-handed. But when he was younger, he played baseball, and he could bat just as well both ways, even as a young kid. It was kind of weird to watch.
All right. So, yeah, sounds like I could get down on working on some appliances, man.
It's pretty cool. I did go back and look at it a second ago while you were discussing.
Yeah, that potato machine. Come on, man.
Well, I mean, it's not much different than I've like a HVAC unit, so I never was trained on HVAC. I just did it. I mean, I just figured it out.
Just refrigeration. Yeah.
When I used to do more HVAC, like rooftop units than I do now, and we have a couple chains we do some rooftop units for, but that's about as much as I do. But I mean, I can fumble my way through it. I know who to call if I get stumped on something. But like, you think about these fryers I work on, they have spark ignition. So some use a fin wall control, some use others. So some you turn them on, they like to pilot slit all day, and it just cycles the main valve on and off for heat. Some it sparks every time, so it's a intermittent ignition. I mean, but if you look at the same way as like in a rooftop unit or a furnace, it's the same thing, same components. You got some have like these ovens have glow hot surface igniters, just like a furnace have. I mean, it's the same thing. It's just packaged in a different piece of equipment to do a different job. Most of your convection ovens or gas have in-shot burners.
I feel like you're dealing with a lot more gas appliance, though, right? Commercial wise.
Yeah. There's not a lot of electric, though. I did a lot of 480 volt stuff, and some of these like schools and stuff. They'll have 480 volt ovens and stuff, and it's kind of crazy. I installed a combi oven a couple weeks ago, and it's bigger than a residential range, but it's 480 volts, and it required a 20 amp circuit. It was the cord they sent with it was a 14 gauge cord.
Wow,
that
doesn't sound right.
I opened up the box for the cord for the whip, and it was 40 foot of 14 gauge wire. And I was like, okay. I was like, and I looked at the data plate, and it says it only pulls like 12 and a half amps. So I was like, all right.
Yeah, that'll work.
Now, do you run into any 575 stuff at all where you are?
No, luckily I have not ran into that, and I do a lot of like crazy old stuff, and I haven't ran anything like that. The highest I've been to, the highest I've seen is a lot of like Kroger grocery stores, and for some reason, whatever transformers they're using when they're building these things, man, they're putting out like 515 volts. And it's like it absolutely destroys these 480 volt elements, because these 480 volt elements are actually European, and they're actually rated at 440, but 480 to 500 is kind of acceptable. But once you get above 500, it just blows them up.
Yeah, we used to you would like certain Lennox furnaces would be their hot surface would be or a little glow fly. They were 80 volts. And we would, no, that's right. It would call for 110, and we would put some of those universals are 80 volts. That's what it was. You throw it on there, and you're like, man, that thing looks bright. Holy crap! 2 days later, you're back over there because it's roasted. Yeah, I guess you're dealing with a lot of temperature probes too, right? Day in, day out.
Yep, a lot of PTC and TC, and some are thermocouple based, and some are resistance based. Like the ones today were resistance based. We worked on today, so they've had a pretty bad batch of them. They're just not lasting at all. So at room temperature is supposed to be like 174 k ohms, and this one was reading like 746 k ohms. So it's like thought it was like negative. I'd have to do the math, but I thought it was like a negative temperature. So it overheat like 100 degrees and tripped the high limit out on the fryers. But yeah, a lot of temperature probes, a lot of smart control boards anymore. We put potentiometers to adjust, to set them up, and it's crazy. There's 5 million
I feel like
manufacturers.
fast food is like moving way fast. You've got to see that.
Oh yeah, it changes so fast. Like, so most of the fryers in your big fast food chain accounts are all touchscreens now. So you touch a picture and it cooks that product. Yeah, like the Taco Bell, they have a gas fryer. It's 2 vat. It's touchscreen. It has a basket hanging there. You press a button, and it lowers the basket into the grease, and it raises it up. And when it's done, the timer goes off. And then when you want to filter, you just press a button, tell it you want to filter, and their button pops up and says, "Are you sure?" You push the blue button, and it drains itself, filters itself, fills it back up, and turns the heat back on when it gets to a certain height of oil. And by the time it's done filtering, it's ready to cook again in 2 minutes.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
Holy cow.
It's taking, well, it does 2 things. It increases the life expectancy, the lifespan of the oil, improves product quality because they're filtering more. But also it takes the human element out of it. So someone's not handling hot grease trying to filter these things. So it saves on the, workers' comp claims and the injuries and people getting severely burned. So
Yeah, but we still can't get people to work in there, though.
Oh, no, you can't. Every time I try to go.
Where did everybody go?
Building the roads, apparently, because every single road in Indiana is under construction right now. But yeah, I'll go to a restaurant and you can't walk in the dining room. I go up and pull the dining room doors and it's closed because they don't have enough staff to run the dining room. So I'm going around back and banging on the door and no one opens the door because the music's blaring or, they're too busy.
Drive through only. Yeah, this past weekend, I was craving some Taco Bell. Pulled in there, lines all the way around. I'm like, all right, well, I'll just go in. Nope, door's locked.
Yep.
It's like middle of the afternoon.
Yeah, no joke. That happened to us at Wendy's the other day.
I hate when I don't eat fast food a whole lot, but man, when I'm craving it like that, it's just like, I got to have it.
Yeah, Taco Bell is the spot, man. They get a bad rep, but people think they know how the food's made there, and they really don't. That was the biggest
That
thing.
was my next question for you is like all these places you go to, you're like, oh, no, not coming back in here.
Well, I'll tell you what, just because you pay more money doesn't mean it's any cleaner than anywhere else. I will say that. I've been in some of the places that are like major chain, high-end steak places. One was moving in Indianapolis. They built a new location, and they're like, hey, can you come in and, look at our equipment and see what to take over to the new store? I was like, all right. So I get there. I walk in the back door, and I look around. I was like, who's the manager? And this guy's like, I am. I was like, I'm here to look at your equipment. I said, but I'm going to tell you right now, throw all this shit away and buy new. Don't take this over.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, if you can see the kitchen, you're good. People are like, oh, McDonald's is disgusting. I'm like, no, McDonald's is probably like one of the cleanest restaurants you'll ever see just because you can see back there.
Right. They know you can see it.
Yeah.
I guess that's what you're saying. Yeah. I
think that's part of the reason why McDonald's does it. So you can see back there. So that, hey, you can see it's fairly clean. Now any restaurant during lunchtime, they're going to have, they're going to drop lettuce on the floor, cheese on the floor, bread on the floor. They're going to have a mess during lunchtime just because it's so busy and they're just trying to get the food out. But generally,
as long as it stays down there. Right.
Yeah. As long as it doesn't get back on the table, it's all right. But I've seen some stuff. I'm like, this just make your stomach turn. And there's places I'll never eat at again. There's places I'll tell people don't go there. I hate being that person, but I'm just like, when you see people that have a bag of cabbage and they're driving over in their car for their freaking egg rolls, it's like, this is ridiculous.
Speaking of that, hopefully you can answer this question. Why do Chinese restaurants always have a screen door back there?
Because the AC don't work and they're trying to
What is up with that?
Yeah, they're trying to create a draft.
with
the kitchen hood.
They are cooking with a ton of heat, though, I guess.
Oh, dude, they have so many BTUs.
I was going to say, it's massive burners.
Well, there's a brand new Chinese restaurant, and it used to be all different kinds of places, but the way they piped in their gas is it came in at the left end, and it went through like 3 big walks, and then it had this big like 6-foot steam table they're cooking crab and stuff in. And then it came over and went to 2 fryers, and they kept calling in and like, oh, our last fryer keeps shutting off. Our last fryer keeps shutting off. And I told the guy going out there, I'm like, check gas pressure. He's like, oh, gas pressure's fine. I'm like, what is it? oh, it's fine. I'm like, no, fine is not the answer, dude. I was like, I need a number.
Not standing gas pressure, like
Yeah.
when it's running.
Yeah, he could never give me a number. So eventually I got sick of him going out there. So I got sent out there on overtime. And I watched it. It started off at like 16 inches of gas, 16 inches of water column. I was like, geez, okay. It's like firing up those walks, dude. And you can just watch it drop, drop, drop. So I went over there and I fired up all the walks on max. I fired up the steam table on max. And by the time I got back to that fryer, the pilot was out and I literally had like 0.3 inches of water column. I was like, what? Why do you guys do this? I'm like, you're doing it to yourself. Oh, no, it's never been a problem before. I'm like, you guys have been open for 2 weeks and you've had 4 service calls. It's a problem.
Right.
I'm like,
God,
you need
16 inches, a lot.
Oh, yeah. Well, man, anymore around here.
And for the
Well, the valves can handle a half pound. So 14 is about as much as you want to feed them. And they have a building regulator down to like 4 inches for the manifold. But around here anymore, if it's new construction, it's getting a 2-pound system, and no one thinks about that in the kitchen. And you hook these half-pound valves up to 2 pounds. If you catch it soon enough, you don't do any damage. But most of the time, you don't catch it until it becomes a problem. You know, and these people aren't paying for startups or, you know, evaluations of their new equipment. So you get the call, hey, this won't light, or hey, you know, I burn out my thermocouple's burned out on my fryer. Well, you get there and you're like, well, yeah, you got 2 pounds of gas going to it. You light the pilot and it sounds like a freaking turbo torch. You can braise with it.
right. That's so. So that's everything here. Like when I did service in Georgia, everything was half pound. Come here, everything's 2 pound. And everything's got a regulator on it. You know, only time I seen 2 pound meters in Georgia was like Steve Harvey's house, right? Like shitloads of gas appliances everywhere.
I got one store
here. It's just on everything.
A 10-pound system because they couldn't get. They have so much stuff in there that I don't know. They pay for a 10-pound system, and I was going to do a site survey for a new tilt skillet, and I happened to be there when the HVAC guy was there. He was like, hey, are you here for that tilt skillet? I was like, yeah. He said, I'm going to warn you, they got a 10-pound system. I was like, what? I was like, no way. Sorry. And he's like, yeah. He's like, that's why you're replacing that tilt skillet. So I get there and I check gas pressure, and sure enough, it was a 10-pound system, and no one put a regulator in that thing. Somehow the valve held together, but it warped the back of it. It burned it up. It was just a mangled mess. I was like, holy cow.
What's the water column on that?
I don't know. I got digital. I learned.
It probably said OL on your meter.
I learned really fast.
Whatever it says when it pegs out.
I started running into the city. You know, I started getting down to Indy more. I learned real fast. I used to use the YouTube manometer. So it goes in one side, you know, and the other side's open. And then you measure the difference between the 2 water lines. And I took enough baths. I was like, nope, no more. I went and bought a dual port.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The Philippines dual port, I'm trying to think of how high. Because I used to kind of, when I did a class talking about, you know, pressure switches, right? Like when guys would suck on the hose to see if it would light, see if the furnace would light. I'm like, when you're sucking on that, you're literally breaking it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you don't realize what you're pulling water column wise. And I would use my meter to show that. And it would be like, you know, I don't know, 4 or 5, or actually it'd be in the 20s. You just, you know, sucking on it, trying to close the valve. But, yeah, I don't know what it pegs out at.
I don't know
what the max is. 10-pound system would probably, geez. Yeah, you could weld with that for sure.
Oh, yeah. I've had fryers, and this was a 2-pound system. They didn't have a regulator, and it was a standing pilot. So it just had a thermocouple, and it literally, the guy was all proud of himself. He's like, yeah, he's like, you know, I hooked this fryer up myself. And I was like, oh, you did a good job, you know. And I got to looking, and I lit it up. I was like, holy cow. And he's like, yeah, it's leaking oil right there at the pilot. And the pilot was so strong that it actually ended up melting a hole in the fry pot and was leaking water out. I mean, leaking the oil out. So I was like, yeah. I was like, this thing's, throw it away. And he was mad. He's like, well, I just paid, you know, $1,000. I'm like, well, you need a regulator, bud.
Gee. Yeah, I mean, so So you'll actually work all the way down to just like a microwave then?
Yeah, I try to steer clear of microwaves as much as I can. I've learned the hard
I've
way.
never torn into a microwave before.
Man, so we do a lot of like, they call them speedy ovens. So you go to like that sub shop, the yellow and green sign. I should not be throwing out names, so
Yeah.
I'll throw that out. But you get your oven, you get your sandwich toasted. Well, that's an oven and a microwave in one. So it's continuously heating to certain degrees, but then the microwave is what heats the food up. So
I didn't know that.
yeah, the air temperature is what gives it the crisp, but the microwave is what actually heats the food up. So we do a lot of those. And I used to wear a wedding ring, and I was always pretty careless. I mean, don't do as I do as I say type of deal. I wasn't paying attention. My finger, luckily, my wedding ring was grounded, and it got into the capacitor. So my wedding ring actually has an arc mark on it from being grounded out from the capacitor to the frame. And it was like 10,000 volts. Like that, it should have killed me. If I didn't have that ring on and it wasn't grounded that way, it probably would have killed me. But now my wedding ring's locked in the safe, and I haven't worn it in probably 14 years.
I got the rubber ring. I've been bit too many times with my ring.
Yeah, I've thought about that, but I guess I used to not wearing it by now, and I don't know.
Actually, working out, I had the worst callus right there. It was massive. That's kind of the one reason I went to the rubber
I thought about just getting a tattoo.
Working on a car, man, trying to work on something.
I watched a guy. He was brazing in line sets, and he put too much rod on there, and it dripped down and hit that wedding ring, and like superheated that whole ring all around his finger. One day doing apartments, and he ended up. I thought they were going to peel his finger off like a sock.
God,
it was nasty. So if you want to wear a wedding ring, I mean, go the rubber or whatever. I think HVAC Tactical has one. I think.
Yep.
So I see some guys have wear those, but I thought about just getting a tattoo, but my wife don't care. I was like, no one wants this bald fat guy anyways. So.
So my wife does. She does echo of the heart, so she has to scan. I don't know if you've ever had an echo done, but it's the same machine like when when they scan to see the baby and stuff. Same type of machine, but different head. But she's like, she has to. I don't know. I guess wearing a ring, she can't do the diamond, right? Because she's all up in you trying to scan that. Well, not guys, right? But ladies come in there and she's all up in their junk trying to scan, and the diamond it kept cutting people. So she wears just this little tiny gold band. Everybody's like, "Where's your big diamond at?" She's like, "Yeah, I can't wear it every day, so I just wear this little gold band."
My wife's there too, and she washed her hands so many times that like the hand sanitizer ate one of the prongs off her, like to hold her diamond in there. Diamond fell out, so she won't wear one either anymore. It's like,
all right, so take us through. So you got the podcast going. Take us through starting that and kind of how that's going.
It's going good. I've got a bad habit of diving headfirst into stuff. So before I even recorded an episode, I bought the Rodecaster Pro and 2 mics and 2 headphones and editing software. And I'm bad, man. It's just how I roll. So I did all that, and I recorded episodes, and I had feedback, and I had echo, and I didn't know any of the settings. And luckily I talked to a few people, and they worked me through fixing some stuff. So the quality's getting better. I try to record on video, so I have a video side of it too. Just because, I mean, people I talk to like, oh, do the video side, and you can just put it up as a separate link on YouTube or whatever. It's just, more content.
Right.
So, but it's going good. I've got 8 or 9 episodes out. I'm trying to have interviews versus just myself talking. I'm not a fan of talking to myself or listening to myself. So, I'm trying to limit that. So, but I've got some really cool guys. I've interviewed, Gil KV from the HVAC Uncensored podcast. He's helped me out a bunch. He always answers my questions.
He's good.
Yeah, Gil's a good dude.
gives me tips, and tricks. And then I've interviewed a couple other guys I've met. There's a guy, he's local from Indiana. He's not local to me, but he's in Indiana, about 2.5 hours away. And I went down to his house and we just did a live session on YouTube and just talked, and I turned it into a podcast. And I had a guy on a couple weeks ago, a younger guy. He's only been doing this about a year. My main goal is though just to try to shine light on like my side of it, the kitchen side of it, the kitchen refrigeration. I mean, I do dish machines, garbage disposals, ice machines. I do it all. So I'm trying to bring, it's never a shortage of things to do in my world.
Well, that's what I think is cool, man. Because we haven't had anybody like you on the show that's in that side. We've had some giant commercial guys, rooftop guys. We've had residential guys. But man, there's a whole nother side of this commercial appliance.
Yep. And I'm just trying to spread the word on it. So, I mean, there's a lot of money to be made in this. It can be rewarding. It's fun. I'm always traveling. I always get to see different things, but I mean, it can be greasy and dirty and nasty. I mean, I've come home, like I said, I'm bald. So I've came home with my entire top of my head covered in blisters where someone carried a basket of fries right out of the fryer across the top of my head. Chicken.
God.
So yeah, there's a lot of hazards, but so I'm just trying to spread the word on that and trying to bring awareness to it. I mean, you see all these guys out there with these huge followings, like Flynn and Jeff Jaden and all those guys doing, the HVAC and the boilers and stuff and the plumbers with all these huge accounts. I'm like, man, I was like, there's nobody like me that has these huge accounts. So I'm just trying to spread the word.
Oh, you're right.
And hopefully one day I'll get there.
Well, and I remember, I know it was several weeks ago when you were live in that one kitchen restaurant. I love just you walking around saying, this is what this does and this is what this does, because I was always interested in all that stuff. Like I worked in a McDonald's, but I never really paid that crazy attention to how advanced the stuff even was when I was 16, let alone what it is now.
Yep, I was actually back in there last week. Yep, I got another one going down. I was back last week, and they wanted me to do a startup again on all that equipment, so I went back and just made sure everything was running right. And I think they opened up today, so I get down there and get some chicken strips, I guess, one day. I'm in Bloomington.
So after listening to you talk for a little bit, I know who your podcast host has got to be.
Who's that?
It's got to be your son.
Yeah, I thought about it. He's kind of nervous about that kind of stuff. I don't know why. He's the same kid that has like videos on TikToks with like millions of views and stuff. And I'm like, dude, come on.
That's what I'm saying. He needs to just bring the whole nother. You don't want two of the same. Me and Ryan are completely opposite, but we're in the same field, right? Like that's. He came up. He's the pin pusher. I'm the tech guy. I mean, Ryan can get technical with you, but. I think that would be cool,
not
man.
At the level that Dennis can.
I mean, a commercial kitchen guy and him and his son on there, dude, that would be sweet.
Yeah, I want to interview him. Come on, I want to give him a couple months and see what he liked about it first before I got him on here and got him too scared.
Have you pitched it to him at all?
I've kind of hinted around. I haven't said it out right. I'll make him listen to this episode and see what he says.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys I listen to that talk to themselves, and some guys can just crush it. But man, it's tough. Like you said, you say something funny or you screw up and it should be funny, but nobody else is laughing. And you're like, if I said something stupid, Ryan would be laughing at me or he'd make a comment. So it helps.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it'd be cool.
I may have to give it a shot. Like I said, I'll stream this podcast when it comes out, and I'll have him listen to it and see what he says.
I think he should do it. It is different when you hit record, though. I still haven't went back and listened to our first episode. Man, you hit record, and you're like, oh shit! We got to talk now. Okay.
I have a hard time with myself, man. I know everybody does, but it's so weird. I'll listen to bits and pieces and see how it goes, and then I need to change this or I need to change that, and that's about as far as I listen to myself.
Well, and I try to gauge I catch myself listening to the golf podcast, my golf podcast more, and my own podcast, which is strange, but it is what it is. But it's just getting on there and being yourself, right? I mean, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like, we're trying to spread the word, get the trades out there, as is everybody, that we follow on Instagram and all that. We're just trying to, tonight we were going through college stuff with my son. He's 17, and I took him through, what I did, because I'm not paying for his college. Like you said earlier, I'm not doing it. I'm going to pay for enough shit to get him through college, but I'm not paying for his college, right? Like, I'm going to be spending money on stuff. But his, so I told him, I said, look, you need to research what you want to do when you get out. You need to make sure that's what you want to do. Maybe, here's an idea. Research what it's going to pay. I mean, what a concept. Like, what is that job going to pay? Can you pay that loan back with that pay? Right? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I love this job. This is fantastic. I love making $40,000 a year. It's like, well, you got an $80,000 loan to pay back.
Yeah.
How cool is that job now?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
he was like, I'm going to go to school for business. I'm like, what kind of business are you going to get into? Well, I don't know. I'm like, so you're going to go to school for business, but you don't know what kind of business you're going to get into? I was like, that makes a lot of sense, don't it? And he just looked at me like, yeah, you're right.
I mean, some kids will say, right, you ask that question, they're like, I'm going to go to school for business. And you're like, what kind of business? And they're like, this, and this, because the world needs this, and this is popular. Some kids are like,
some people got it figured out.
Yeah, if you got to figure it out, more power to you, man.
I didn't have it figured out. That's why I did entrepreneurship instead of business. Because there,
I feel like entrepreneurship is a little bit better. Like, you just kind of.
Well, I grew up in the family business. So my dad started a heating and air business as a second career in 1977. So I grew up in it, tried to get away, and it always pulls you back.
Well, trade, that's why, because it never goes away.
Trade always pulls you back. But, when I looked at curriculum for business school, it was just like, you learn to manage this and manage this and manage this. I'm like, well, that's great. How did I get to the point that I needed to actually manage it?
Yep.
Because that's where everybody struggles. You can't figure out how to get from point A to point B. And you're like, oh, shit, now I got 12 employees. What do I do? How did I get here? Because a lot of times, sometimes it just happens and there was no plan or any kind of roadmap to get you where you were going. So then you start struggling because you can't figure out how you got to where you are because you don't know the structure that got you there. And that's where I saw so many businesses, including my own father's, was just struggling at different times. So I was trying to think of, what's a different way I can have perspective on this and just on business in general. So rather than manage what someone else has put together, how do I build it from the beginning and go from there? The headache was I never necessarily knew which one it was, but you get into a group of people and you start just figuring out ideas and you come up with some creative business, and then you got to build a business plan to get through class and go from there.
Well, you got to be
is different.
Yeah, you gotta pick something you're going to enjoy doing. I mean, you can get a business degree and be stuck in a field you absolutely hate, and you're never going to like it, grow, develop. I mean, I enjoy what I do, so it fits me well. And my son, he's been working with me. He's like, "Well, you ever thought about going to work for yourself?" I'm like, "I've thought about it in the past." I said, "It's not really something I care to do right now." I said, "I've got it pretty well doing what I'm doing now.
Right.
A lot of opportunities doing what I do now." But he's thinking, well, maybe in 5-10 years he wants to start his own business. He doesn't know yet. I mean, he's a kid and he's young and he's full of dreams and aspirations. So I'm glad that he's thinking ahead. But I'm just to each his own. I mean,
yeah, you got to lay down you got to get some. Well, you got to get some. You got to get a little history behind you first. You know.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to jump in to go to college and come out, and I think nowadays, and I don't know if it's always been like this, but it's like, okay, so you go to college and you tell the kids, okay, I'm going to go to college, and then they're like, yeah, but if I don't want to do that, I still got that paper, right? I still have that degree to fall back on. What does that even mean?
Mm-hmm.
what does fall back on that mean, right? A trade job is literally something you fall back on.
Yep, and that's how
It
I
just
was
doesn't go
raised,
away. It just doesn't go away.
even with it. But the problem is having the fallback. So many people looked at the fallback as being a bad thing.
Yep.
That's the problem. Like, so much of our of trades got turned into a negative connotation as, oh well, if you can't get through school, then do this.
Yeah.
When 80% of the kids,
Yeah, if you can't get through
that go to
school, then do this trade and make 150 grand a year.
Yeah, but the problem is they leave out the make 150 grand at your part, and they leave out understanding how you actually can do that. They just go,
I'll be honest.
Oh, I don't get it.
I've met people that are college grads, got pretty good jobs, went to college. My brother-in-law, thank God he doesn't listen to this show. I get on him a lot on here. He has no idea this side of the world even exists. You know, he got a football scholarship. He got out. He went to work for the vice president of the United States, traveled the country, got done with that. Of course, that makes a good resume. Got a job making, who knows what kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
Has no clue that the guy that comes and works on his HVAC unit is making six figures. Like, has no clue.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's probably thinking the guy's making 40 grand a year. Like, there's people out there that have no idea the other side of the world, right? Or hell, commercial kitchen appliances.
Yeah, exactly.
Trade's just been looked down upon. I mean, it's the school system has pushed everybody, and you have to go to college to be something. And I think it's kind of a disservice to really everybody. I mean, I barely made it out of high school. I couldn't do it. I mean, I didn't want to be there. I couldn't focus.
Right.
I barely made it out. And to be honest, I probably make more money than 98% of the people I went to school with. There's probably a doctor or some high-end lawyers that make more money than me, but I make more money than your average lawyer probably does in my area. So, I mean, it's just,
right.
It's how hard you want to work. I mean, I work a lot of hours, but I don't have to work the hours I do to make the money I make. I mean, I make good money without working myself to death, but I enjoy the extras. But I do more because I like to do it. It's rewarding. And I get a lot of opportunities from being the person that steps up and does things. So, I mean, everything's how hard you want to work or what you want to do. But I mean,
that's with anything, right? I guess.
Yeah, high schools just push everyone to college. And I think it's just, I mean, I don't want to be political here, but I think
you think they have to? I mean, if they said, you know what, you don't need to. I mean, you don't even need high school.
Yeah.
Everyone's
like, no, I'm out.
I think it's just a money scheme, really, because, I mean, do you think about it, the universities are backed by government loans, I mean, and they're ran by the government. I mean, that's just my thought on it. I mean, I don't want to get too political here, guys, but that's just, I just feel it's like a shell game. I mean, that's
what I'm saying. Like, they're not going to tell. I asked my son, I was like, do they talk about trades at your school? He's like, what is that word?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, where I'm at, the word doesn't even come up.
Yep.
What do you do with that? I mean,
I'm in a rural community, and they have a vocational program kids can go to, but they don't really push anybody towards it. And it's all, you need to go to school for this, you need to go to school for that. I'm like, yeah, if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, yeah, go to school. But if you don't know what you want to be, go get a job in a trade. I mean,
yep.
You'll try to live a little bit before you figure it out. See if there's something you like doing. It doesn't require 4 years and $100,000 to do. And
yeah, no joke.
See, I was like you. I was kind of burnt out on school, and I just wanted to literally move out on good terms. I wasn't kicked out. I moved out at 19. It was just like, I just want to go into the world and work. Like, I'm ready to just go do my thing. If I fall on my face, I fall on my face. And I've been in every trade. And you know what? I've never been without a job, ever.
Yeah, that's a good thing about what I do is I do plumbing, I do refrigeration, I do the electrical, everything in that kitchen. I mean, I install garbage disposals, I fix garbage disposals. I mean, I'm talking like 5 horsepower disposals, 10 horsepower disposals bolted to the ground.
I've not seen a disposal that big. No,
is that a Briggs and Stratton?
Yeah, I mean, these big giant dish machines, I've got some videos of that are like 40 feet long and, steam fed, and they've got steam heat exchangers for, heating the water and stuff. And it's I never know what I'm gonna get into, and it's cool. And I always want to learn. And I tell people, I'm like, I learn something new every day. I said, if I walk into a restaurant and I've never worked on something and I don't know how to turn it on, I said, don't tell a customer you don't know how to turn it on. Because if I find someone that works on the equipment and be like, hey, how do you start this up? I need to see if you're doing the procedures right, and let them show you how to turn it on or start it up. So it's all on how you approach it, but it's always something new and it's cool. I mean, I'm always learning. So it fits me well.
I should have did that to homeowners. Here, come over this stat. I want to see if you're doing this right.
I don't have a fancy thermostat. I want one. Well, I don't want one. My wife wants one. I just want to be able to, if I'm coming home from work, turn my AC to 75 to 68. But she she wouldn't like.
So what
it.
are you putting in that shop out there?
I'm up in the air. I'm gonna do a wood burner for this winter. I've got one coming. A friend of mine actually had one. He's given it to me. So I'm going to do wood burner for this year to get me by. But my goal is to do the loft, and I'm going to spray foam it.
There you go.
A metal ceiling, and I'm going to do blown in on top of it because I don't want to spray foam the roof. So I'm going to do that. And then I think if I have 4 to 6 inches of spray foam on the walls, and then I get 12 inches blown in, I can get away with probably pretty good size mini split.
What did you say? It was 30 by 40?
30 by 40 by 18 is the problem.
God, it looks so much bigger in that picture. Like
it does. It does look
It looked
huge.
like it was like a football field long or something.
No, it's big. I would have went bigger, but where I had to put it at, that's about as big as I could go. I could have went I could have went 36 by 48. But 30 by 40.
If you do all that foam, you could get away with a freaking 1 ton.
Well, I was going to do mini split. That's what I wanted to do. A heat pump.
Yeah, those 12,000.
Just buy a decent one that'll handle. Well, the problem is Indiana. There's days it's negative 10 degrees at night.
Okay, maybe a 2 ton.
Yeah, so I'm going to have some
Inverter driven.
some sort of backup heat for just emergencies, but most of the time the mini splits do all right here. If you got a good heat pump, a decent one. I don't know what to get. I don't work on that kind of stuff. I see guys work on it all the time, and I always read about it, but I've never done it. But when it comes time, I'm sure I'll ask around to some of the guys that work on them all the time, see what their input is. I know I won't be doing a Mr. Cool, that's for sure.
No.
Oh, Mr. Cool. I see that on Instagram a lot.
Dude, that page.
Oh, it's everywhere now.
Group, there's a Mr. Cool DIY page, and it's like all these homeowners trying to ask for help. It's like, why won't people come out and work on these? They're like, and everyone's like, because you're an idiot and you installed it.
Right. Yeah, I'm not touching that. And the guy who touches that, you really don't want him having back out there.
Nope.
No.
All right. So what do you think about, is there any changes coming? Like, what's the future of commercial kitchen stuff? Is it just constantly coming out anyway?
Oh, it's
Is the new Department of Energy? I did see a thing pop up today on AHR News where California, I guess one of the big towns there dropped. They no more any new construction, no more gas. Like zero. It's all got to be electric.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. You see, they're saying that, but then California's also telling people, hey, you can't charge your car during peak hours and turn your thermostats to 78 degrees. I'm like, you guys are putting the cart before the horse. I get the green stuff, but I'm like, you don't have the infrastructure to back it up, so you're just going to
They don't.
Right.
No, we don't.
What's that guy going to, how's he going to fire that walk up? Them dudes have like a shit ton of BTUs in there.
Actually, that's why the AC is not running. It's not broke. They just had to turn it off so they avoid a brownout.
Useless. Yeah, it's a brownout.
People be using induction walks. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Induction cooking's come a long ways the last few years. When I first started doing this, it was like they had the standalone induction heaters, and like when they go bad, or you just send them to the factory and they send them a new one and they'd repair it and then swap it back out later. But I mean, they're going to become more field serviceable. It's kind of crazy. Like there was a Kia that was built here about 4 years ago, and they didn't want to use induction pans. They just grabbed their pans off the shelf. It's free. Right. So they weren't getting the induction rated pans. The induction rated pan has like a 1/2-inch plate on the bottom that's really thick and keeps it from warping. So they'd use a standard pan, and that pan would get so hot so fast that it'd dome up in the middle, and it creates a hot spot, and that heat can't go to that pan, so it kind of bounces back into itself, and it just burns itself out.
I was looking at a countertop for my new house I'm building next year. Like, your little island section there. Mm-hmm. You can get that. It's under the granite somewhere. So you can't see anything you just kind of know where it's at, right? And you just set the pan on there, and it's induction. It just starts cooking.
Induction's sweet, man. It's fast. It's instant heat, and you pull it off there and you can touch the surface. It's weird how it works. Magnet, man. But their induction's coming along pretty well. I do a lot of the combi ovens have a pre-mixed burner system, so when you set them up, you have to go in and actually check your flue gas analyze. You use check your flue gas, so you're measuring CO2 and parts per millions and your percentage. Right. That's how you dial the burner in. So it's kind of crazy. It's they're mostly European based, German based. So you set those up, like you would a high end furnace. I guess I've never had to set up a high end furnace. I'm not sure how this guy set those up, but I assume it's along the same lines. But so I mean, the higher end gas stuff's pretty cool. But electric, it's come a long ways. They have there's a lot of systems have triacs now. So instead of relays, they have a triac that pulses really fast, so it cuts down on supposedly energy usage. I'm not sure how that works. I'm not an engineer, but I just know I've had to replace some triacs, and when they go,
I haven't heard of that. Now you might have to get into that. What is?
There's a fryer company that had them. It's just a triac, and so it's a relay, but it pulses really fast. So it's not on continuously. It's just a really fast pulse, and it pulses on off, and that's how it heats up. And it's supposed to. I mean, it cuts down on the duties. It cuts down on the on cycle, and it's supposed to give energy. But I've never done any studies on it. I've seen where they claim that they save 30% versus a standard relay or a standard contactor being energized the entire time. So I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but
I wonder how they hold up. I guess because you're like doubling the life of it.
Oh, they work really well until
they
go bad, and then they just cut up. But most of my stuff is relay driven. Like when it fails closed, and it fails horribly. It generally runs away, and if the limit doesn't catch it, it's blowing something up or burning something up pretty dramatically.
Has your son been electrocuted yet?
No, I was waiting today. He had we were within those combi ovens, and they plug into the wall. They're 480 volt, and they plug in. I was like, it's got like a big 50 amp cord on it. Yeah, oof. I'm like, don't touch the metal, please. Don't touch the metal, please. Don't touch the metal. He's seen me.
I mean, that might be his last day.
I tell him, I'm like, I make sure I emphasize that, hey, shut this off. And, I generally, I know what to touch and what not to touch, but, when I'm training him, I go above and beyond 100%, what I normally do. I go 100% by the books.
Right.
I don't want.
Well, yeah, you can get hurt. I mean, we were talking about 277. 277 is probably the worst I've ever been shocked by. It's a crappy. I don't know why it's so bad. It's just a different shock.
Yeah, it doesn't let go. It just it gets you, and if you can't jerk away, you're on for a ride.
Yeah, you taste metal in your mouth.
I had a frequency
terrible.
So these combi ovens have frequency drives. They have for the blowers, they change directions and they change speeds, their variable speeds and stuff. And you can set them up however you want, based on your cooking. So this had a 480 volt unit and had a frequency drive, and I wasn't paying attention. I was just checking terminals because I was losing signal coming back from my motor for the Hall effect sensor, and I was pushing on terminals and I pushed on the wrong one and got 277 and just knocked me to the ground. I thought I was going to pee my pants. Everything else was like, I was not expecting that. I was like, what did I even touch? And I looked up there and I was like, oh, there's a bare terminal there not used. I was like, that's what got me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's kind of stuff stops your heart right there. You got to be careful of that.
Yeah. I'm a lot better than I used to be about turning stuff off. So I want to see.
Yeah, but you got to test stuff with it on.
Yeah, that's the bad thing. I told him, I was like, yeah, when you get a meter, you might want to buy a couple extra set of leads or get the ones that are replaceable tips because you're going to blow them apart.
Right.
I've blown up meters, had it on ohms and stuck it in the outlet, test a 480 or whatever, and blown it up. It's just, I don't know.
What's your meter of choice? What's your?
Right now I have the field piece, the big giant one that does everything.
I was gonna say you're getting into so much different stuff.
Yeah, I gotta have some to test DC microamps for a lot of stuff. Right. The field piece, what is it? The 680. I'd have to look and see. It's 6 something. It's the want the swivel head on it. I love that meter. It does everything. It does the phase. You can check phase rotation, which kind of bit me in the butt last week. So I installed a big giant in draft exhaust hood for a university, and I checked phase rotation on the meter. I was like, okay, it's right. I turned it on. I'm like, man, this thing ain't moving no air. And whoever wired the motor just wired it up however. So the phase rotation was right going to it. But once it came out the other side of that disconnect, it wasn't where I was just saying. So I had to reverse 2 leads. So I had a great opportunity to explain, how you reverse 3-phase motors and stuff for him. And he learned.
I feel like, on our side, a fan runs backwards, blower or compressor runs backwards, which doesn't sound great, but it immediately, right? You just kind of switch 2 leads, but I haven't ever had that break anything.
No,
that I know of. I don't know if it would do that in appliance wise, but
no, generally the element doesn't care. The element doesn't care, and now something like the convection fans, they'll run backwards, but just crappy airflow. And if you look, there's actually a direction indicator on the back of the motor. So if I'm just doing a standard convection oven, it's 3-phase electric. Doesn't have a frequency drive. I just check rotation and it's wrong. So I'll just pull the cover off, switch 2 leads, put it back together, and it takes off. But other than that, I shouldn't say this. Disposals will run backwards, but most of your garbage disposals in your restaurants, they reverse direction anyway. So you turn it on one time, it runs one direction when you shut it off, and then you turn it on the next time, and it actually has 2 different contactors, and they alternate back and forth. Which one runs, and it'll actually run them backwards, so it doesn't.
Oh, to clean it, I guess, a little better.
It keeps it from jamming up or gumming up. So, but dip machine pumps, you'll know real fast if you're running one of them backwards because you will have no flow and. So you gotta check on those. You have to check on dish machine pumps, and I've seen it where, they'll have 2 or 3 pumps, and one will be wired differently than the other 2. So 2 will be running great, and you'll have a third one not running. So you have to actually check each individual pump. Now I do it the lazy way. I just turn the unit on, and I just open the door when it's running, and see how much water's coming out. If it's got a crappy water flow, I know it's running backwards.
So do you get into any kind of plumbing as far as tankless or
no
stuff like that?
Don't do any water heaters. So don't do any boilers per se as far as building stuff. Now a lot of times we'll have stubs come out the wall where we have to tie into to feed water filters or feed to our equipment to an oven or thermalize or something along those lines. Then I'll do the exterior piping, and I've been trying to change over to doing a lot more ProFresh stuff just because I think it looks cool, and I think it's faster, and I don't solder enough to make it look good. So I'd rather just I'll rent a ProFresh gun if I got to do a bunch and just make it look nice and be done with it. But no, I don't do any boiler work. But I do have boiler based steamers though, which is kind of weird. It's kind of a dying thing. It was pretty popular when I first started, but they're getting fewer and far in between. But they're just so inefficient. They're just either a gas hog or electric hog, and most time it's just a big boiler base that sits on the ground, and it's just either gas or it's electric. So it either has a ton of BTUs of gas going to it, like 140,000 BTUs of gas, or it's just using an absurd amount of electricity. I've seen some that pull like 180 amps. So it's
I was looking at putting a tankless in my new house, and there's no gas in the neighborhood. And I was looking into the electric, and it was just like, God, I got to put in a whole nother service.
Oh yeah,
just to run my tankless water heater if it's
I've got a
be electric,
tankless set up here. I got gas and I get crappy water.
So,
and of course, I bought the cheapest gas one because I didn't know what I was doing. So
it's just
if you're
tankless wise, right?
Yeah,
not a tank water heater.
I bought the smallest one. I bought the cheapest one I could find for tankless, and it's Renai. And if you're taking a shower and someone turns the kitchen sink on, it shuts off because it has too much flow through it. It has too much flow through it, so I think it's not running. So I'm like, my buddy, he lives in town. He's got an electric one, and it pulls like 60 amps, and it still ain't enough. So
that's what I mean. If a tankless, electric tankless is crazy amperage.
And then you got to have water filtration too. So you got to have soft water, and you still got to do flushes. Like I was terrible. I didn't have.
Oh, our water's pretty good here. I don't know about where you're at.
Oh, it's terrible. Like limestone underground lake beds. It's terrible. You can see it in your eyes. You can see it in everything. It's just my tankless would lime scale up in like every 3 months.
Oh, wow.
I have to flush it.
We don't have that issue here, really.
I got a softener, and I shouldn't say this, but I haven't done a flush on mine in like 9 months. I'm probably it probably won't turn off.
Oh, yeah, you just shit the bed on that.
A cold shower morning watch. So I put a water softener in. It does a lot better. But yeah, you got to have good water.
Your next post on Instagram is like, God, why did I say that on that show?
It's just a fine time to do it or want to do it. You got 4 people living in the house, and there's always someone taking a shower, doing laundry, doing dishes. It's always something.
So are you what's your go-to appliance in your house, or do you even care? Like, are you get hung up on brand doing what you do, or?
I don't care about household brand, but my go-to here is the smoker. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different grills. I've got a flat top, so I've got the Blackstone. And my wife, she always uses that one. She loves that one because she can just cook a bunch of food for the week, and go from there. And then I've got a pellet grill. I've got a charcoal.
See, foodie, HVAC foodie needs to get a pellet grill. I don't know what he's doing over there.
Yeah, I love foodie, man. I got the pellet grill. I've got a wood-burning smoker, offset smoker, and then I got a natural gas grill. So I've got 4 different things to use outside. And yesterday I smoked 2 pork loins with 2 different rubs. I smoked like 6 chicken breasts for my food for the week. I cooked like 6 pounds of burgers, like 10 brats, and had a bunch of people over. And I think it was just rolling smoke from like 7 in the morning all day.
I love the fact that I can just throw something on there at 10 at night at like 2:25, and the next morning, like a Boston butt or something. Mm-hmm. And next morning at like 7, I just wrap it. Mm-hmm. It's good to go. Like it just was out there just purring all night.
Yeah, I started off like doing it stick burner, and then I got lazy. My brother actually bought this, and his wife didn't like the smoke taste on the food, and I bought it off him for half of what he paid for it, brand new, and it's made me lazy for sure. But I mean, I'll do.
What do you got, Ryden? I think Ryden's got a little Blackstone.
I do. I think it's. God, what is it? It's probably
it's like a little tailgate or
like 2 feet. Yeah, it's a tailgate size.
Ryden is the king of air frying, though.
No, I am. I air fry like a champ because I'm in an apartment still.
I like air fried wings, though. No lie.
Yeah, we our air fryer.
I hate breaking out all the grease and our
air fryer runs probably 5-6 times a day, man. We got the big
Yeah.
Ninja Foodie XL, the big giant one you can grill and do everything in, and it gets a workout, especially with teenagers.
Yeah, it does good on wings. I haven't. Riding will do damn steaks in
Dude,
it.
I
I've
do
never even.
steaks, pork chops, chicken. I do it all, man. I swear, some of the best steaks I've ever cooked in my life from that damn air fryer.
I spent tons of money on pizza rolls and beer during the pandemic when it first started because I was just eating pizza rolls in the air fryer, drinking beer, and playing video games all day. Because they only let us work like so many hours. They were trying to spread it out. So I'd have.
I was gonna say y'all are probably pretty shut down for real.
No, I was. Well, they let go half the staff. Like, okay, we're going to do this. But instead of doing it, hey, this guy shouldn't be here. This guy's been an issue or not an asset. Let them go. They just like, okay, you seniority based, and they let go guys they should have let go, in my opinion. But that wasn't my decision. But then they're like, okay, we're going to keep you guys at 40 hours. Well, I was still getting like 60 hours for like the first 2 months. And someone in corporate seen it. They're like, hey, what's this guy doing? It's like, well, it works there and we're letting him have it. The other guys were like, oh, we're getting our 30 hours and, we don't lose our benefits. We'll just go home. It's like, not me, but they cut it back and I had to chill out for a little bit. So, but they were like, okay, no more than 40 hours. I'm like, dude, I can be into overtime Wednesday night.
Right.
I'm like, so I'd be like 4-day work weeks, 3.5-day work weeks. It was Friday, never worked a Friday, and I just eat pizza rolls and drink beer and play video games.
It was interesting. I feel like I don't know. It feels like it was a long time ago.
It does and doesn't.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes it feels like it was yesterday, but it's actually making a little comeback around my area again. Obviously, it's not as harsh, but I was up at the gym this morning. There was quite a few masks in there floating around.
I never got that. Close the gyms down. It's a pain
Right.
affecting people that are out of shape, and let's close the gyms down.
Yep.
I'm a terrible person, though. I mean,
All right, so we're not going to keep you all night. You probably got a crap load of calls tomorrow.
I'm good. I took a nap, slept off that hangover,
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah, the old
but it was bad.
old holiday weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say that, and then I thought you strategically were trying to make sure the dispatcher didn't hammer you in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got a block, and my first call is like 10 minutes away from the house somehow. So I've got a block out, so I don't have to start till 8 o'clock. So I'm good.
Sweet.
Our hours are technically 8 to 5, but I always, if I get into a restaurant at 5 in the morning, I'll get to a restaurant at 5 in the morning. Now my son hates my guts for it, but
Give him a little heads up on that.
he comes out about 7 o'clock. Hey, what time we start tomorrow? Like, we're leaving here at 5, and you see him look at the ground and walk off.
Yeah, he runs back up there and goes to sleep. No, not that age. He stays up all night still.
Dude,
Sure.
He said he was up till 2 o'clock last night, and he got into my wife's Fireball, and I was like, "What the hell, dude?"
Gee,
He was like, so by like 2 o'clock, he's like, "Yeah, I'm ready to go home too." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, I was up till 2 o'clock, and I got into the Fireball," and I was like, "Oh, way to go!"
it's always the Fireball's fault.
I can't do
I
it.
mean,
Man.
it'll jump up and get you.
My wife,
Been there, done that. I like it cold occasionally. I'm not gonna say I hate Fireball. It's not bad.
we found
It's kind of
a Fireball keg at the liquor store, so we had to buy that. It's like a gallon and a half of Fireball.
yeah, it's not something you want to do all the time.
No.
Now, my neighbor across the street, old Miss Vicky, she loves her some Fireball and Diet Coke.
I was going to say Fireball and a little splash of vanilla Coke is pretty dang good.
I know Ryden will dabble in some Fireball.
I'll dabble in about anything.
All right. Well, I do have to get up early.
You and me both. And I think I'm driving back to the mountains again tomorrow. So,
Well,
yay.
that'll be some good Instagram stuff.
Oh man, Instagram is going to be blowing up with some Bryson City reels here the next couple of weeks.
Nice.
So Pat, what's your plan on what's your next podcast?
I'm trying to work a guy that does what I do for an interview. If not, I got some stuff coming up about some Garland grills, those clam grills I talked about that are at McDonald's and Wendy's. I was gonna just do one, and then I had a friend of mine that works for that company reach out to me and asked me to hold off, and he wanted to talk to me about some stuff first before I did it. So I'm pretty well. I have a good relationship with them, so I try to be respectful. So if they have questions, or comments, concerns, I'm not trying to jeopardize contracts we have with these. And I train for those guys, so I put it out there because I knew he'd see it and I knew he'd respond to me before I did it. So I got some Garland stuff coming up. I got some dish machine stuff coming up. I was hoping to go. There's a convention coming up for Zafessa, but I
was going to bring that up. Yeah,
I meant to as well. I forgot to put the notes. Dang it.
I was hoping to go to that, but we're just too understaffed, so I can't get away to go to that. But
that was in Nashville.
Yeah, it was in Nashville. That'd have been. There was plenty of after parties I've been invited to, and I had to turn down, unfortunately.
Now, I haven't even because I hadn't paid attention, but AHR, is there a ton of stuff on your industry at AHR or no?
Just some of the refrigeration stuff. We a lot of Dan Foss and Parker Sporlin stuff is in a lot of equipment I work on. So some of that stuff fit in pretty well. Like I said, I went last year. It was the first time I ever went, and I was blown away. I did the HVACR Tactical Awards show, and I went with Dave Elliott, who's your HVACR on Instagram, and he got me my tickets. He's getting tickets, and he's like, "Hey, I got access to tickets. You want some?" I was like, "Yeah, give me two." So me and my wife and him and his wife went. And we sat down at a table, and I looked across the way, and there was name tags there, and it said Mechanical Hub. I was like, "Holy shit!" So I sat down, and across the table was Andy and Eric. I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, felt like a little schoolgirl. Finally met Chris Stevens there, and he came up. He actually sought me out and looked for me. He came up to talk to me, and I was like, You're coming and looking for me? I'm like, I'm nobody. I'm like, this is amazing. But I look forward to going up to next year too. I've already got we're booking a room. Well, she was supposed to do it tonight. I don't know if she did or not, but got our place.
Yeah, that's coming up, man.
Yeah,
it's coming up.
I look forward to seeing you guys there, hopefully, and
yeah,
you guys are making a big push to vote for your podcast. So I'm going to get out there and vote for you guys.
Yeah, we gotta get it going. We gotta try to beat HVAC jerks.
The gauntlet
I guess
has been laid down.
That's what my new boss is like. Man, I want to get in there and help you, and y'all are gonna be number one. I was like, you know what? It actually doesn't work that way. It's just one big community. He's like, really? I was like, yeah. I mean, nobody's really. We're just all doing it. You know.
Yeah.
There's not really a number one, I don't think. I mean, everybody has their own way of going at it.
Quantify that.
No, I listen to everybody, and I learn from everybody. So, I mean, I'll take things away from this. Like your guys' how everything's laid out is pretty organized. Now, I don't think we probably missed a few things, but it's a lot better than what I do. So,
well, we just have to do that to try to keep ourselves halfway on track. Otherwise, we're way over there, and the show's not even started.
Yeah, I can see it.
So. Oh, it's even worse. I mean, when you're doing it by yourself, it's not that bad. But man, you get two people on here, you want to try to talk about. You know what? Actually, we'll have to circle back with this. But I had a technician today send me two pictures of some really old stuff he found in a house, and I'll have to send you some pictures. We'll chat about it on Instagram. It's pretty crazy. I asked him if he got in a damn time machine to go to work today. Some of the stuff he sent me a picture of was insane. It's like from the 40s in this house, just working like a champ.
Yeah, I run in these rural schools, man. There's stuff from like the 50s and 60s that are still kicking. I'm like, how is this stuff still running?
God, you should have seen the stuff that we whipped back into shape when we changed all the ductwork in the middle school when I was in college. That stuff was so old.
Just
God,
you don't want to change it. You want it to see how long it'll go, but super inefficient. I mean, is what it is, I guess. All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show, man. Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We're gonna push your show and push everything as hard as we can. Hopefully I put some more potato. Actually, you know what I need you to get? I need you to get me a little machine that's got the mini donuts and it flips them.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, do
floating
you
in the grease.
you ever have to work on a Krispy Kreme machine?
I haven't been in Krispy Kreme, but that's called a company called Belshaw, and they make a donut robot. So it's like a little funnel, and it has an actuator and a spring, and it pushes the plunger down. It dumps the dough in the donut shape, and then it's conveyor, and it drags the donut across the fryer, and it gets to one spot, and it's got an arm that flips it over, so it fries the other side, and then it works its way down the conveyors, and it goes up a conveyor, and then depending on what they're
it's like a little tabletop. It's a small unit.
It's got a little laser curtain that the donuts go through the curtain of glaze, and it comes out and spits on the trays.
God, I need one of those in my house.
Donut robot, man. I'll be on the lookout for one now. If I find one, I'll make sure I tag you guys in it.
Yeah, I got it because the South Carolina Fair had the little mini donut. You could get cinnamon and sugar, or glaze or whatever.
I was ready for the old school cinnamon sugar.
They're like 1.5 inches. They're tiny, and God, I could eat like 50 of them at one time.
Buy them by the bag.
Yeah, get 3 dozen and roll out.
Fair food.
Yep, fair food.
Dude, we did a bunch of work. Indiana State Fair was last month, and we have to go in there and work, and you got to be in there at a certain time and out by a certain time, and working in food trucks is not fun, dude.
No, well, there's nowhere to work.
There's no room, and it's all propane, and it's like your regulators always suck. You run them low on propane, and then all your orifices are clogged up. Everything's clogged up with carbon. You get that crap on you. It doesn't come off. Just so damn annoying.
It's about as bad as you'd think it'd be. When you
yeah.
see those damn trucks and all the shit in there, it is what it is. Yeah, it is. It's bad as what it looks like.
I'm waiting on
every time regulators.
I'm waiting on California to enact electric-only food trucks.
No, that ain't gonna happen.
Be rough.
I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, you just thought food truck was expensive before.
Yeah, no joke.
All right, well, appreciate it, man, and we'll give it a little bit, and then we'll have you on again. See what you're getting into.
Well, and maybe when you come down in November, hell, we might could do a live show.
Yeah,
there you go.
I'm up for that.
We could do our first live show.
Yeah, I'll give you the date.
R&D uncensored. Here's at you, Gil.
Right? Yeah, shoot us some dates. We'll get together on that.
Yep, I'll shoot you some dates. I'll have to look at my calendar, but I'll be in town for, like I said, 8-9 days. So I'm free in the evenings. I don't do anything with the students. I stay at different hotels from them even, so I don't have to see them. So, like, they don't want me fraternize with them, really, so.
Right.
I will take care of the fraternization. No problem.
Nice.
All right, well, hit us up, man, when you get in town.
Sweet. All right, guys. Thanks for your time.
Take it easy, man. You
See
too.
you, man.
See you. Bye.